David, I appreciate you being here with me today. What are your thoughts on the bill regarding foreign-owned land filed by our East Texas representative here, Representative Cole Hefner?
Sure. So the bill operates to prohibit any national from one of four countries, China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, from purchasing or leasing any real property in the state of Texas. So from the jump, the bill discriminates against people based on their national origin. So not just are you a lawful resident of the United States, but are you a lawful resident from one of these four countries? If so, then you can't buy or lease real property. That's national origin discrimination, which violates the Constitution and federal laws. The bill is also troubling to me for a couple of other reasons. It allows the governor of the state of Texas to designate additional countries that can be discriminated against, the residents of additional countries that can be discriminated against based on their national origin. So Governor Abbott could, in consultation with the Department of Public Safety, say, well, I'm determining that nationals of Brazil also pose a security threat to Texas and restricting their rights to buy or lease real property. We are talking about any buying or leasing of real property in the state. We already have a state law that prohibits the acquisition by certain countries of really important infrastructural projects or land near important agricultural sites. So this, we could be talking about a bakery in your local community center, and a person can not only not buy, but cannot lease the space for that bakery based exclusively on their national origin. And it creates really strict liability for those people, never for the sellers or the landlords of those property, just for the people who acquire that right to the property, including the creation of a felony and a $250,000 fine. So it's a very severe penalty against people based exclusively on their national origin. And it's also a massive aggrandizement of the power of the governor and the attorney general of our state.
So you feel it's discriminatory.
It is on its face discriminatory because it says that if you are from one of these four countries, then you cannot buy or lease real property in the state of Texas. So it discriminates between people based on their national origin.
Do you feel as though, the countries that are listed specifically on this bill, do you feel that they at all pose a threat to the United States or Texas in particular, and anything should be done about them, or you feel this is kind of a step too far?
I think this is a step too far, and it's really important in these conversations to distinguish between the countries themselves and the individuals who are here, who happen to have been born in those countries. And so we can say the Chinese Communist Party poses threats to the security of the United States or Texas, and then also say that a resident in Houston from one of these countries can open a bakery without posing any threat to the national or domestic security of the state of Texas. And one of the main problems that we would have with this bill is that it's completely untethered to who the people being discriminated against actually are. It's not about what kind of property they're trying to acquire or what that property is close to. It's not about what they're going to use that property for. It's not about who they are, whether they have a criminal record or not. The only question it asks is, where were they born? What is their national origin? If it fits into one of these four countries, then they cannot buy or lease real property in this state. And so that's discriminatory. It is arbitrary because it doesn't account for individual circumstances. And it also increases the power of the governor and the attorney general in ways that should make all of us, regardless of where we are from, whether we're citizens or not, uncomfortable.
You at the ACLU, do you plan on challenging this? Do you have steps that are already in place that you're planning on potentially doing something about this bill, or that's something that you're not exactly planning at this point?
So we have in the past challenged enacted laws that similarly discriminate against people's acquiring property based on their national origin. Because this is just a bill, it's been proposed, and we have no indication as to whether it's going to move forward in the legislative process or be enacted. We are not currently planning to take any action. If, however, it becomes law, then it becomes a very different conversation.
And sort of looking at the broad law as a whole, what impact do you feel this could have on Texas?
On Texas, I think it could impact us in a couple of different ways. We are a state that has historically welcomed immigrants and relied and benefited quite a lot from the investment of immigrants as well as foreign nations. So we are a global economic powerhouse as the state of Texas, and it is necessary and important that we proceed carefully, make sure that we are protected. But there's a difference between protecting ourselves against identified threats subject to due process and making blanket categorizations and saying that individuals with these connections can't buy or lease real property no matter what it's for. The other piece of it is that this will impact certain individuals a lot. So if you are that person that I referred to earlier who's hoping to open a bakery in the city center, this will impact you a lot. Your entire hopes and dreams are being taken away from you, not because of who you are or your intentions for your community or the ways that your community could actually benefit from what you're doing, but based exclusively on a determination that your national origin is from Russia or Iran or North Korea. We know many people who are fleeing from abusive treatment at the hands of those states who have come to Texas for a better life for themselves and their children. And those people shouldn't be discriminated against just by the accident of their birth. If there are real problems with those individuals or what they want to use their property for, that's a different conversation. That's not what this bill is.
Is this the type of law you're seeing a lot on other states at a national level, or it's kind of exclusive to Texas?
We have seen a resurgence of what are called alien land laws. These are laws that were very popular in the late 19th century when we had the Chinese Exclusion Act and a lot of anti-Asian sentiment writ large. But in the early 20th century, they fell out of favor. They were rejected by the Supreme Court and state courts that found them to be unconstitutional. And fortunately, they were kind of put into the dustbin of history. But in the past few years, we have seen several states attempt to enact similar discriminatory laws, including laws that we have challenged in Florida and Arkansas, and they have been dealt with accordingly as unconstitutional national origin discrimination.
And you may have alluded to this, but why do you think these laws are popping up more often now?
I think that there has been a resurgence of uh, anti-foreign prejudice, and I think a fundamental change in the way that we communicate about these issues. And so there is a lot of fear, including some justified fear about the countries themselves, but there's quite a lot of misinformation about the individuals who are impacted, the individuals who are here. So at the same time that we're seeing a rise in anti-immigration rhetoric, we are seeing a rise in rhetoric and language that targets individuals from certain national backgrounds who are here in the United States, who are law-abiding, who want to become parts of our community. I grew up in a diverse community of immigrants, and that is an extremely important part of who I am and what I love about my city. But in the past few years, we have seen that there's just more and more inflammatory language that is genuinely hurtful to people who are here trying to be part of the American community and make us as great of a country as we can be.